If a family of 3 could live a life of ordinary people, then his childhood would definitely be much happier, right? Seeing Charlie fell into silence, Sarah hurriedly asked, "Charlie, why are you not talking? Do you really have no impression of me?" Charlie came back to his senses at this time, smiled slightly bitterly, and said, "I remember you." "Really? Do you really remember me? Do you admit that you are Charlie?" Charlie nodded and said, "I am Charlie Wade, from the Wade family in Eastcliff. I didn't admit it just now. I just don't want to expose this identity in front of others." Sarah grabbed Charlie's arm, clenched her hands tightly, and said with red eyes, "Charlie, my dad has been looking for you for so many years. Since Uncle Wade and Aunt N were buried in Eastcliff, my father has been looking every year. Take me to sweep their graves, and confess to Uncle and Aunt every time. The confession failed to get you back." Charlie sighed. "What else is Uncle Gu looking for?" Sarah said with tears. "Dad said, I'm afraid that you will be wandering out and suffer. I'm afraid you have some shortcomings. He can't explain to Uncle Wade and Auntie." After speaking, Sarah said again, "My dad has searched the whole country for so many years, but has not found your whereabouts. Back then, the Wade family was keeping the whereabouts and circumstances of you, Uncle Wade and Aunt N highly confidential. When they returned to Eastcliff for burial, my father didn't know where they died or why they died." Charlie couldn't help frowning. "You mean, the Wade family has been concealing this information?" "That's right." Sarah nodded and said, "After you left Eastcliff with Uncle Wade and Aunt N, all your whereabouts were erased by the Wade family. My father had been investigating and taking without finding any clues. He was so angry that he yelled at home several times, saying that the Wade family simply followed your family to eliminate all footprints, messages, and even the smell in the air." As she said, Sarah cried with rain, and said, "My dad always wanted to find you after he learned that Uncle and Aunt N had passed away, but all the household registration files of Charlie in the country were in disorder. Your identity information couldn't be found in the household registration system at all, and we have no idea where you have been for so many years." Charlie said indifferently, "I have been in Orus Hill for so many years." "Ah!" Sarah blurted out in exclamation. "Charlie, have you been in Orus Hill?" "Yes." Charlie nodded, seeing her expression so surprised, frowned and asked, "I have been in Orus Hill. Is it strange to you?" Sarah said indignantly, "Orus Hill has always been the key suspect of my father. My dad has been here several times. He used his relationship to check all the boys in Orus Hill who were about your age. And he checked it several times. He checked every rescue station, welfare home, and non-governmental welfare organization in China, and there was no information about you at all. It's impossible." Charlie blurted out, "I have lived in the Orus Hill orphanage from the age of 8 to 18, and I have not changed my name since the day I entered the orphanage. My parents gave me this name, and the personal information I filled out in the orphanage was also Charlie. If Uncle Gu has been here, he will definitely find me." Sarah confidently said, "Impossible. In the past 10 years, my dad has come to Orus Hill personally, and he has been here no less than 5 times. The number of people sent is even more. All kinds of relationships have been used, but he never found any of yours clue. I still remember the last time my dad came to Orus Hill. It was during the summer vacation that year when I was 18 years old when I was going to study in the UK. Because at my strong request, Dad brought me here. We were in Orus Hill. After staying for 2 weeks, I used hundreds of subordinates, informants and private investigators to sort out various clues, but still did not find any information about you." Charlie listened to Sarah's words and looked at her very serious and excited expression, and a panic surged in his heart. Since the death of his parents, Charlie has been in a mess, but at this moment, he suddenly felt a sense of tension on his back. He began to suspect that his sad childhood seemed to hide a terrifying scam. He has been in the welfare home for 10 years, and Philip has done this several times and tried to find him. It is impossible to ignore the Orus Hill welfare home. So what is it that made him not find or unable to find him who has been living in Orus Hill Welfare Institute? Is there something wrong with the orphanage? Could it be that the orphanage deliberately concealed his personal information? So who instructed the orphanage to do it? So what is the motivation of the person who instructed the orphanage? It suddenly occurred to him that the Wade family had so many hands and eyes that they shouldn't have let him fall in Orus Hill for so many years. Moreover, they were able to take the remains of his parents and return to Eastcliff for burial, which proves that they know the trajectories of his parents and family of three. In other words, the Wade family must have known that they were in the Orus Hill Welfare Institute. It is even very possible that for so many years, he has never escaped Wade family surveillance. This also explained why Stephen could easily find him in the hospital. The real reason behind this seems to be getting more and more complicated. Seeing Charlie fell silent again, Sarah asked with great concern, "Charlie, are you wondering, what is the conspiracy behind this?" Charlie nodded. "I think some problems seem to be wrong, but I haven't sorted them out yet." Sarah hurriedly said, "Why don't I call my dad and ask him to come over?" With that, she would reach out for her phone. Don't. Charlie hurriedly stopped her. "Don't tell anyone about what you saw and know about me, including your dad.